We had what seemed like a perfect marriage. At least, that's how I viewed it for the better part of 6 years. My wife Jennifer was a vibrant woman with a laugh that could light up a room. We lived in a cozy suburban neighborhood, had a decent circle of friends, and shared a mutual love for all things crafty. I always thought we were a team, navigating through life's ups and downs side by side. That was until I started noticing the cracks in our perfect little facade. It began subtly. Jennifer, who once couldn't get enough of spending weekends at home with me, started favoring nights out with the girls. At first, I brushed it off, thinking she just needed some time to unwind. She had a demanding job in marketing, and I understood the need for a little escape from the mundane. But as weeks turned into months, something about her demeanor changed. She seemed more distracted, more distant. I'd catch her staring at her phone, smiling at messages that she'd quickly hide the moment I walked into the room. One night, after she came home particularly late, I noticed her perfume smelled different. It was the usual floral scent she wore. It was something bolder, sharper. A knot tightened in my stomach as I tried to convince myself it was all in my head. But intuition, as I would later learn, often reveals what we refuse to see. Then came the fateful night. I was working late, finishing up a project at the office, when I accidentally came across Jennifer's phone left unlocked on the kitchen counter. I know snooping isn't right, but curiosity got the best of me. I picked it up, scrolling through her photos to see if there were any recent ones of us when I stumbled upon something I wish I hadn't. There it was, a series of photos, each one showcasing Jennifer with a man I didn't recognize. They were all smiles, her arms wrapped around him, a glimmer of excitement dancing in her eyes. My heart raced as I flipped through the images. The final blow was a video. In it, Jennifer was laughing with this man, leaning in close, whispering something that looked far too intimate for comfort. I could see the unmistakable chemistry between them. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My mind raced back to those nights when she'd claimed to be out with friends. Deceit washed over me like a cold shower, and I didn't know whether to rage or cry. I put the phone down, my hands shaking, and paced the room like a caged animal. How could she do this to me? Did all those years mean nothing? Then came the confrontation. I waited for her to return, my heart pounding in my chest. When she walked in, the smell of her perfume only heightened the tension. I couldn't take it anymore. I blurted it out, demanding to know who this man was. Jennifer's face went pale as she stammered for an excuse. "He's just a friend from work," she lied, her voice shaky. "You know how office parties can be." I could see the panic in her eyes, and yet the lies kept flowing. She tried to downplay the photos, claiming they were just innocent moments shared among colleagues. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was angry, devastated, and utterly betrayed. Jennifer's desperation for redemption was palpable. She begged me to believe her, promised that nothing had happened. But the anger in my chest wouldn't let me hear her hollow words. I stormed out, needing space to breathe, to think, and to process the whirlwind of emotions crashing over me. The next few days felt like I was living in a nightmare. I replayed that confrontation over and over in my head, the hurtful words, her desperate lies, and the raw truth of her infidelity. I felt like a shell of a man, grappling with feelings of betrayal and loss. Finally, with my heart still heavy, I made my decision. This was not a relationship I wanted to salvage. I had poured my heart into this marriage, and yet here I was, standing on the brink of betrayal. I needed my own form of closure, something to take back control. It was then that the idea struck me, a plan of revenge that would be both cathartic and empowering. I would make sure she regretted her choices, and I would do it in a way that would resonate with her deeply. I decided to buy a luxury car, something I knew she had always wanted to ride in but would never get the chance to. I wanted to feel the thrill of driving, the wind in my hair, the freedom of knowing I could enjoy life without her. But most importantly, I wanted her to watch from the sidelines, knowing she could never take that ride with me. And so began my journey of revenge. I was done being the victim. It took a few weeks for the emotional storm to settle. Jennifer and I were living like strangers under the same roof, each day stretching into an awkward silence filled with unspoken words and resentful glances. She tried to bridge the gap between us with feeble attempts at normalcy, but I was having none of it. The anger still pulsed through my veins, and I was determined to make my move. I began to research luxury cars, spending late nights scrolling through forums and reviews, dreaming of what I'd choose. I wanted something that would not only turn heads but would also serve as a symbol of freedom for me, a stark contrast to the betrayal I felt. I settled on a sleek black sports car that screamed power and prestige. It wasn't just a car, it was a statement. When I finally made the purchase, I felt a rush of adrenaline. The day I drove it home was exhilarating. The engine roared to life beneath me as I took it for a spin through the streets. I could feel the weight of my anger beginning to lift as I accelerated down the empty roads, the wind whipping through my hair. This was my freedom, my escape from the devastation of my marriage. As I pulled into the driveway, I caught sight of Jennifer through the window. She was folding laundry, her back to me, and for a moment I hesitated. Should I tell her? Should I let her in on my new life? But the bitterness bubbled back to the surface. Why should I share my victory? She had lost her chance at being part of my life, and I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of knowing what I was up to. I parked the car in the driveway, deliberately revving the engine a few times, letting the sound echo through the neighborhood. I waited, watching her reaction through the window. She turned her head, her eyes widening as she caught sight of the car. A flood of emotions crossed her face: surprise, confusion, and then jealousy. It was exactly the reaction I wanted. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I took the car out every chance I got, driving through the city, hanging out with friends, and even going to car meetups. It felt incredible to be the center of attention, my newfound status only adding to my confidence. I was no longer the husband who was betrayed. I was the man with the luxury car, living life on my own terms. Jennifer, on the other hand, was left in the dust. I could see the toll it was taking on her. She would often ask if she could join me for a drive, but I always found an excuse. Sorry, I'm meeting some buddies. Or, I've got plans tonight. I reveled in her disappointment, each refusal strengthening my resolve to keep her out of my new life. But it wasn't just about the car, it was about reclaiming my identity. I had always felt defined by my marriage, by the expectations of being a good husband. Now I was rediscovering who I was outside of that, and it felt liberating. I got into a routine of working out, eating healthier, and even picking up new hobbies. I was slowly piecing together a life that was fulfilling without Jennifer by my side. One day, as I was polishing the car in the driveway, Jennifer came out. She approached hesitantly, clearly unsure of how to engage with me. "Can we talk?" she asked, her tone softer than I had heard in a while. I didn't respond immediately, focusing on the glimmering paint. "I miss you," she said finally, her voice cracking. "I know I messed up and I'm sorry. Can we start over?" Her words hung in the air, and part of me wanted to give her a chance to let her back in. But the image of her wrapped around that race car driver, laughing as if I didn't exist, flashed in my mind. I shook my head. "It's too late for that, Jen. You made your choice," I replied, my voice steady but cold. I could see the tears welling in her eyes as she tried to salvage something between us. "I know I hurt you, but I want to make it right," she pleaded. But I felt no sympathy. "What's done is done. You chose him. I'm moving on. And you need to accept that." The interaction left her visibly shaken, and for a moment I felt a pang of guilt, a fleeting echo of the love we once had. But it quickly dissipated. I reminded myself of her betrayal, the lies she had spun, and how she had taken my trust and shattered it. As I walked away, I realized I was finally ready to embrace my new life, to fully commit to this revenge-driven journey. I was no longer the betrayed husband. I was now the man in control, and nothing would stop me from enjoying every moment of it. The weeks rolled on, and the distance between Jennifer and me widened as I settled into my new life. My luxury car was no longer just a mode of transportation. It had become a part of my identity. I loved the way it drew attention wherever I went, the envious glances of passers-by, and the compliments from friends who were just as captivated by its sleek design and roaring engine. I was living for the thrill of it all. I took to the open roads with reckless abandon, embracing the freedom that came with being single, and it felt fantastic. The more I drove, the more I craved the adrenaline rush that came with it. I even joined a local car enthusiasts club where I met other like-minded individuals who shared my passion. We organized weekend drives, car shows, and even track days at the local racetrack. I felt alive again. One Friday evening, after a particularly exhilarating drive, I received a text from a number I didn't recognize. I opened it, and my heart dropped. It was a message from Jennifer, but this time it wasn't just an apology or a plea for a second chance. It was a photo of her and that race car driver, wrapped in each other's arms, smiling like they were the perfect couple. Beneath the image, she had written, "Just wanted you to know I'm happy now." Anger surged through me as I stared at the photo. How dare she? Did she really think that flaunting her new relationship would hurt me? It only fueled the fire of my revenge. I was done being a passive participant in this messy situation. I had a plan, and it was time to execute it. That weekend, I attended a car meet. With my club, the atmosphere was electric as engine roars filled the air, and car enthusiasts showcased their pride and joy. I was enjoying myself, engaging with new friends, and relishing in the fact that I was finally free of the emotional weight that had burdened me for so long. As night fell and the neon lights illuminated the parking lot, I struck up a conversation with a woman named Mia. She was charismatic, passionate about cars, and had a contagious laugh that made my heart race. We talked for hours, and I found myself drawn to her in a way I hadn't felt in years. She was everything I needed: fun, flirty, and completely different from Jennifer. By the end of the night, as the crowd began to dissipate, Mia leaned in closer. "You should take me for a ride in that beauty of yours," she suggested, a playful glint in her eye. I couldn't help but smile. "How about it?" I replied, a sense of excitement coursing through me. We hopped into my car, and I felt a rush of adrenaline as we sped down the empty roads. The wind whipped through our hair, and laughter filled the air as we raced past streetlights and shadows. I couldn't remember the last time I had felt so alive, so free. It was everything I had been missing during my time with Jennifer. Mia and I continued to see each other over the next few weeks, and with each date, I felt more liberated from my past. I found myself smiling again, and it felt like a weight had been lifted. I began to forget the pain Jennifer had caused me, replacing it with the joy of new experiences and the thrill of a budding romance. Back at home, however, Jennifer was becoming more desperate. She would send me texts, trying to engage me in conversation or ask about my weekends. "I miss the adventures we used to have," she wrote one day, and I couldn't help but scoff. Did she really think that I would fall for her manipulative tactics? The audacity was astounding. One evening, as I was getting ready to head out with Mia, I noticed Jennifer standing in the living room, her arms crossed and a look of determination on her face. "We need to talk," she said, her voice firm. I felt my heart race, but not with fear. This was my moment to confront her, to lay it all out in the open. "What's there to talk about, Jen? You made your choice," I replied, keeping my tone steady. "I want to explain myself," she insisted, stepping closer. "I made a mistake, and I've realized that I want you back." I couldn't help but laugh. "You think I'd want to go back to the same woman who betrayed me? Do you really think that after everything I'd just forget?" Her expression faltered, and for a moment I saw the cracks in her facade. The confidence she once had was replaced with vulnerability. "I thought I could handle it, but I see now that I was wrong. I miss you, and I want to fix this," she pleaded, her voice softening. "Fix this? You broke something that can't be repaired. You chose him. You need to accept that I'm moving on." I could feel the adrenaline surging through me, fueled by both anger and the newfound confidence I had found in my life without her. As I turned to leave, I felt a sense of empowerment wash over me. I was no longer the man shackled to a failed marriage. I was a man in control, living my best life, and it felt fantastic. Jennifer could no longer reach me. I was beyond her grasp, and I intended to keep it that way. After that confrontation with Jennifer, life took on a new rhythm. My relationship with Mia continued to blossom, and I found myself genuinely smiling more than I had in years. We shared a love for adventure and spontaneity, and every date felt like an exhilarating ride. The nights spent laughing and racing through the city in my luxury car became more frequent, and I reveled in the feeling of freedom that came with being with someone who appreciated me for who I was. Mia was everything I needed. She encouraged me to chase my passions, often pushing me to take the car out for longer drives, to experience the thrill of the open road. I bought her a racing helmet so we could go to the local track together. The first time we hit the track, the adrenaline was palpable as we raced against each other, the competition sparking and electric. Chemistry between us. It was exhilarating and I felt alive in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. But while I was off enjoying my new life, Jennifer was still lingering in the background. She continued to send me texts, often dropping hints about how she was trying to change. "I've been working on myself," she would say. "I've gone to therapy and I see things differently now." But I found it hard to believe her. Actions speak louder than words, and hers had spoken volumes when she chose to cheat on me. One day, I was at a car show with Mia, proudly showcasing my vehicle. The atmosphere was electric, with car enthusiasts buzzing about. As we walked through the rows of cars, I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. Suddenly, I spotted Jennifer in the crowd. My heart raced, not out of fear, but with a mix of anger and amusement. She was chatting with a group of friends, and when she caught sight of me, I could see the shock wash over her face. I watched as she approached me, her demeanor completely different from the confident woman I once knew. "I did know you'd be here," she said, forcing a smile. "Nice car." "Thanks," I replied, trying to keep my cool. I could sense the tension in the air. She glanced at Mia, who stood beside me, her arm casually draped over my shoulder. "And who's this?" "This is Mia," I introduced her, feeling a surge of pride as I did. "My girlfriend." Jennifer's eyes widened, and I could see the flicker of jealousy cross her face. "So you've moved on," she said, a hint of bitterness in her voice. "Of course. You made your choice, remember?" I shot back, feeling a mix of satisfaction and vindication. We exchanged a few more words, and I could see the cracks in her composure. She tried to mask her discomfort, but the jealousy was palpable. I felt a rush of satisfaction. For the first time since the betrayal, I felt like I had the upper hand. I was no longer the one left behind. I was the one living a life filled with possibilities. Later that night, as Mia and I drove home, I couldn't shake the feeling of exhilaration. "You handled that so well," she said, her eyes shining with admiration. "I could see the tension, but you didn't let her get to you. It's a lot easier when you know you're happy where you are," I replied, glancing at her. "And I am happy, Mia. You've helped me find that again." As our relationship deepened, I found myself reflecting on what I had learned from my marriage with Jennifer. I had been so focused on the pain of betrayal that I almost forgot the importance of self-worth. I realized that I deserved to be with someone who valued me and my loyalty. But Jennifer wasn't done yet. She began showing up at places I frequented, coffee shops, the gym, even the local grocery store. It was as if she was trying to orchestrate these accidental encounters to prove she was still interested in being part of my life. But each time I saw her, it only solidified my resolve to keep her at arm's length. One afternoon, as I was leaving the gym, I noticed her leaning against her car, waiting for me. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice earnest. I hesitated for a moment but decided to hear her out. "I'm really trying to change," she said, her eyes pleading. "I miss who we were and the life we had together. I just want a chance to show you that I can be better." I studied her, searching for any sign of honesty. "Jennifer, you had your chance. You threw it away. You can't just expect me to forget everything and act like it didn't happen." "I know I messed up, but I've been working on myself and I'm different now," she insisted. "Different how?" "By trying to win me back." "You think I'm going to fall for those lines again?" I retorted, feeling my anger rising. "I just want you to consider it. I'm not asking you to come back right now, but maybe in time." I shook my head, cutting her off. "It's too late for that. I've moved on with my life and I'm happy now." Her face fell, and for the first time I saw her vulnerability without the facade. "You really mean that, don't you?" "I do," I replied firmly. "You made your choice and you have to live with the consequences." As I walked away, I felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, but mostly relief. I was finally standing up for myself, no longer letting her manipulate me with guilt. I was no longer the victim in this story. I was the one writing my own narrative, one filled with freedom and new beginnings. Driving home, I felt a rush of adrenaline. Each turn of the wheel beneath me became a reminder of my journey forward, a journey that had just begun. I was ready for whatever came next, and nothing could hold me back. As the days turned into weeks, my life continued to evolve. With Mia by my side, I felt rejuvenated, ready to embrace the future. We explored the city together, discovering hidden gems and attending car shows that reignited my passion for automobiles. I felt like I was living in vibrant colors instead of the dull grayscale that had defined the last months of my marriage with Jennifer. Mia was an incredible partner. She was adventurous, supportive, and genuinely interested in my dreams and aspirations. She encouraged me to join racing competitions, something I had always fantasized about but never dared to pursue. With her encouragement, I signed up for a local amateur racing league, and my heart raced with excitement at the thought of it. The day of my first race arrived, and I was a bundle of nerves. As I prepped my car and checked the tire pressure, I felt Mia's hand on my shoulder. "You've got this," she said, her voice steady and reassuring. "Just remember to enjoy it." The adrenaline surged through my veins as I took my position on the starting line. I glanced at the other racers, all of them seasoned veterans with years of experience. Doubts crept in. What if I embarrassed myself? But as the engine roared to life, I pushed those thoughts aside. This was my moment to shine. When the race began, my instincts kicked in. I maneuvered through the track with precision, feeling every curve and straightaway as if it were choreographed just for me. The thrill of speed consumed me as I navigated my way past the competition. With every lap, I grew more confident, pushing my limits and challenging my own capabilities. Crossing the finish line in a respectable position felt like a victory in itself. I could hardly believe I had done it. As I exited the car, the cheers of the crowd surrounded me, and I spotted Mia waiting with a huge smile on her face. She rushed over and enveloped me in a tight embrace. "I'm so proud of you," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. In that moment, I realized just how far I had come. I had transformed my pain into passion, my betrayal into motivation. I was no longer defined by my past, but instead by my resilience and drive for a better future. However, things took an unexpected turn when I received a call from an unknown number a few days later. It was Jennifer. "Can we talk again?" she asked, her voice trembling. I hesitated, but then curiosity got the better of me. When we met up, she appeared different, more vulnerable and subdued. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she admitted, her eyes downcast. "I know I messed up and I want to apologize, but I also want to tell you something important." "What is it?" I asked, crossing my arms. "I've been seeing a therapist, and they've helped me realize that my actions stemmed from my own insecurities. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed to be honest with you." I listened, but I remained skeptical. "You think just saying you've changed is enough? You destroyed our relationship." "I know," she replied, her voice breaking, "but I want to make amends. I'm working on myself, and I just hope we can find some closure at the very least." "I already found my closure, Jennifer. I'm moving on with my life," I said, feeling the familiar rush of anger. "You can't just waltz back in and expect everything to be okay." "I'm not asking for that. I just want you to know that I regret what happened," she said earnestly. "I want to be better for myself and for anyone I might be with in the future." I could see the sincerity in her eyes, but I was still hesitant. "And what about the guy you were with? Was that just a fling?" She sighed heavily. "It was a mistake, one I'm not proud of. I thought I could find happiness outside of what we had, but I was wrong." I felt a twinge of sympathy but quickly quashed it. "That doesn't change what you did." We talked for a while longer, but I could feel the weight of our history in every word. I wasn't angry anymore, but I also wasn't ready to welcome her back into my life. As we parted ways, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. I knew I had made the right choice in moving on. When I returned home, Mia was waiting for me. She could tell something was off and asked, "How did it go?" I shared the details of the conversation with her, and she listened intently, offering her support. "You did the right thing," she said. "You deserve to be with someone who respects and values you." I realized how lucky I was to have Mia in my life. As we spent the evening together, sharing laughter and dreams for the future, I felt that any remnants of my past were finally fading away. But just when I thought I could leave it all behind, Jennifer reached out again, this time with a message that sent a chill down my spine. "I want to explain everything. Meet me at our favorite spot." That same spot where we had shared countless memories, where we laughed, cried, and dreamt of our future together. I knew I shouldn't go, but a part of me felt compelled to hear her out one last time. So I made my way to the park. My heart pounded in my chest as I approached the familiar bench. Would she bring closure, or was she just looking for a way to pull me back into her chaotic world? As I took a seat, I found myself conflicted, wondering whether I was ready to face the truth one final time. As I sat on the familiar bench in the park, memories of happier times rushed back to me. I remembered when Jennifer and I first came here, laughing and dreaming about our future together. The bench had seen our love blossom, but now it felt like a tombstone for what we once had. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for whatever confrontation lay ahead. When Jennifer arrived, she looked different. Her hair hung loosely around her shoulders, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She seemed hesitant, unsure of how to approach me. "Thanks for coming," she finally said, taking a seat at the opposite end of the bench. I nodded but didn't respond. I wanted to hear her out, but I was also conscious of the emotional distance I had built since our separation. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since our last talk," she began, her voice shaky. "I want to take full responsibility for what happened. It was never about you. It was my own insecurities and fears that drove me to cheat." With each word she spoke, I felt a mix of anger and sympathy rise within me. I wanted to believe her, but I was still grappling with the betrayal. "You're right, it wasn't about me. You chose to be unfaithful, and that choice shattered our trust," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral. "I know, and I hate myself for it," she said, her voice breaking. "I see how much I've hurt you, and I wish I could take it back." "Wishing won't change anything," I said, my heart racing. "You had your chance, and you gave it away. You can't just expect me to forget and pretend like it didn't happen. I'm not asking you to forgive me, but I hope you can at least understand that I've been working on myself," she pleaded. "I'm in therapy and I'm trying to become a better person. I want to be honest with you about everything, even if it's uncomfortable." "Honesty is the least you could offer," I said, feeling a surge of frustration. "But what does that mean for us now? You think we can just pick up where we left off?" Jennifer shook her head. "No, I don't expect that. I just wanted to apologize, to let you know that I'm taking steps to be a better person, for myself and for the future." I paused, letting her words sink in. Part of me appreciated her honesty, yet another part of me felt the walls I had built around my heart solidify. I had spent months reclaiming my life. From the moment I had bought that luxury car to the exhilarating races I attended with Mia. I had finally found freedom, a sense of self-worth, and a future that excited me. "Listen, Jennifer," I began, my voice steady. "I appreciate you taking the time to meet and for being honest, but I've moved on. I'm in a new relationship and it's genuinely wonderful." Her eyes fell and I could see the hurt reflected in her expression. "I know, I've seen you with her. I've been trying to give you space." I took a deep breath. "I hope you find happiness in your journey too, but I can't go back. You've already made your choices and now I'm making mine." She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I understand. I truly wish you the best." With those final words, I could see the weight of our shared history settle between us, but I also felt a sense of closure. I had faced my past head-on, acknowledging the pain but refusing to let it dictate my future. As we parted ways, I felt lighter. The emotional burden I had carried for so long began to dissipate. I was finally ready to let go of the hurt and embrace the possibility of new beginnings. Driving home, I felt exhilarated. Mia was waiting for me, and I couldn't wait to share the news. As I pulled into the driveway, I felt a surge of excitement. I had taken control of my life, reclaimed my identity, and now had a chance at a brighter future. When I walked through the door, Mia greeted me with a warm smile. "How did it go?" she asked, her eyes searching mine. "It went well," I replied, my heart racing with a mix of emotions. "I think I finally found closure." She wrapped her arms around me, pulling me close. "I'm proud of you," she whispered, and in that moment I realized that I had made the right choice. No longer defined by my past, I was ready to embrace the adventure of life ahead. I had learned the value of self-worth, resilience, and the importance of surrounding myself with those who truly appreciated me. As I held Mia in my arms, I knew I was on the right path, and I couldn't wait to see where it led.